The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. And as you well know, in the news, we have the stories on ISIS, we have what's going on in the Ukraine, and we also have the Ebola crisis, where several thousand people have already perished, and health officials are worried that it's actually going to become an airborne disease. So we received an email this morning from Matt Stein, a good friend of the X-Zone, who you all know. And we asked him to come on today to talk about Ebola coming to a theater near you. Joining me now via Skype is Matt Stein. And Matt, welcome back to the X-Zone.
Oh, thank you, Rob. It's always great to be on your show. I really appreciate it.
Well, Matt, tell us about the Ebola. What do you know? And coming to a theater near you, that's kind of scary, my friend.
It's really scary. You know, I've been tracking the news pretty carefully and watching this, and you know, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories abounding that they just want to, you know, reduce the population of Africa and all of that. And I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist myself, but I do definitely believe in the incompetence theory. I believe that the governments of the world, there's so much money invested in the military-industrial complex that there's so much push in this country for bomb, and that they have been so wrapped up in the ISIS thing that they've let the Ebola genie out of the closet. So I think the genie is out of the bottle. And the problem here is that it appears, from what I understand, that you know, Ebola has cropped up several times in the past, and a number of times. First in 1976 is the first time it was identified. And it appears that it's something that is a virus that's fairly common in certain monkey populations in the jungle areas of Africa, and that those monkeys, because there's bushmeat is such a big deal in Africa now, you know, there's such a giant explosion in population, and bushmeat is how a lot of people live and feed themselves. So what happens is you get these monkeys that have Ebola, and they get hunted down and killed, and you know, you ship the monkeys around to different places and different markets, and somebody's cutting that monkey meat up, and they nick their finger, and magically, and then, you know, some of their blood mixes with some of the blood from the monkey, and if it happens to be an Ebola affected monkey, then it keeps bringing Ebola back into human populations that way. Now, there may be other factors, but it appears that that's why Ebola keeps getting eradicated, and it keeps coming back and gets eradicated and comes back. So there was an outbreak in Uganda with about 425 fatalities or people that got Ebola. And it's 50 to 70% fatal. And they eradicated that, but then it came back, and they had this outbreak in the spring. And the World Health Organization, sent their workers out there to work on it and isolate it in the villages, and they appeared to have done a really good job, and they had something like 35 days with no new cases of Ebola, and they basically packed up and left. And about 2 weeks later, it exploded. It hit in a whole, I think, 4 or 5 different communities at once, and they'd already kind of blown their budget. So here's part of the problem is that since 2008, they've lost like 35% of WHO, that's World Health Organization's budget's been cut. They've lost 35% of their responders for emergencies. And now we have the biggest global crisis in healthcare that the world has seen in the modern age. The last time the world saw a crisis like this was 1919, when they had the Spanish flu epidemic, when soldiers in World War I brought the Spanish flu onto some base and started, spreading it through the military all around the planet. And it killed an estimated 50 to 100 million people died in the next couple of years. That's far more people than died in all of World War I and World War II put together in a 2-year period of time. And that was from the Spanish flu. Now, that was an airborne virus, and supposedly Ebola is still a body fluid virus. So when I started getting really, really worried a couple weeks ago, I started looking up some more information on Ebola, and I was worried because I was thinking, okay, say it really is a fluid-borne virus. That means it can, if you sneeze, your particles of saliva can carry 3 meters, like 10 feet away. So that means on an air, and then the air conditioning can move it around. So that means basically someone sneezes in an airplane. The further away you are from the guy who sneezes, the better your chances. But with air blowing around in an airplane, you could probably infect people in like 4 or 5 rows around you in an airplane.
Unbelievable. Matt, stand by. We've got to take a 2-minute commercial break. Exonation, Matt Stein is my special guest this hour, a good friend of the X Zone. www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com, MATSTEIN.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break talking about Ebola this hour here in the X Zone. Don't go away. Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about Ebola this hour. Our special guest is Matt Stein, www.whentechfails.com or mattstein.com. You know, Matt, it doesn't seem that long ago we were hearing about the bird flu scare, came and went. Swine flu came and went, ended up as no big deal. and now the Ebola. Is this just a scare tactic, or is this for real?
Unfortunately, this time I believe this is for real. That what you have right now is a real virus, not a virus that has to mutate to become deadly.
Right.
Like bird flu is deadly to birds and deadly to humans, but really hard to transmit amongst humans. This is a virus that is easily transmitted amongst humans. Now, let me just give you an idea of how easy this is. Okay. Let's compare it to other things. It's called a body fluid-borne virus. So that means it can be in the saliva, it can be in your sweat, it can be in your semen, it can be in your blood.
Wow.
Okay, now let's look at a couple of other well-known body fluid viruses. First one we all know about is AIDS. Okay, well, AIDS has about a 10-year incubation period, and it's very difficult. It's not very easy to transmit, even in body fluids. Like, just because you have body fluid contact doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. Now, right now, there's 32 million cases of AIDS in the world, okay? And it's fairly stable. It's not really growing. It's about the same. Now, let's look at another one that notches up the level of transmissibility. We have viral hepatitis. Now, hepatitis C being the most deadly, well-known version of viral hepatitis. But how many people in the world? Well, 1 in 12 people in the entire planet has viral hepatitis, chronic viral hepatitis. That's over 500 million people living with viral hepatitis every day on this planet. Now, I don't know about you, but not that many people. I know a couple of people who've died of hepatitis C, but I don't know any healthcare workers who've gotten viral hepatitis from their patients. Now, let's look at Ebola. Healthcare workers are dropping like flies in Liberia and in Monrovia, in Guinea, in the areas that have got the worst. Sierra Leone, those are the 3 biggest countries. Healthcare workers, the top healthcare workers in the country, highly respected people who were doing all the right things, who were wearing the bunny suits, who were wearing the masks, who were very careful about body fluids, dead. Their staff, many of them dead. Many of them have abandoned their posts and left. They're finding that in the hospitals, they're breeding more Ebola. You go into the hospital, you work in a hospital, your chances are really good of coming down with Ebola and bringing it home. Now, these, granted, are not American hospitals with really high isolation things. These are hospitals in countries that are extremely understaffed. But the top best people in these countries who knew exactly how to do the right things and had the materials have died. That is how serious we are. So, now let's look at the growth of this. On August 29th, WHO, World Health Organization, reported that the known cases in Sierra Leone and in Guinea and in Liberia had doubled in the prior 3 weeks. Last week, they reported that in Liberia, they had a surge of 400 new cases. That was double the week before. So last week it appeared it might be doubling in a week. 2 weeks ago they were saying doubling in 3 weeks. So let's take that number and say that 3-week doubling is a realistic number, perhaps even conservative, but a realistic number. Now I have a Bachelor of Science from MIT, so it's not too hard for me to punch numbers in my calculator and do doubling every 3 weeks. I found that at that rate, if we don't slow that rate, given the 4,000 cases, and now it's more than that, they're saying it could be 10,000 already now, but say there's 4,000 cases, doubling every 3 weeks, that would mean in 15 months' time, every man, woman, and child on the planet would be infected with Ebola in just 15 months' time. That's called exponential growth. Now, Margaret Chan, the head of the World Health Organization, has said that it's exploding, it's exponential. We have major doctors saying it's exponential. In America, Dr. Ali Khan, who was formerly with the CDC, and he's now at the Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha, and he's the guy who's been in charge of the isolation unit that's been treating Dr. Richard Sacra. Now, Rick Sacrum